Good morning, bore da.
Bore da.
Can you start by giving me your full name and where we are here today?
I'm Fleur Buston and we are in Crosswell at Llwyncelyn-Bach.
Lovely.
Um,
And how long have you lived here for, Fleur?
I've lived here for about 12 years, I think, now. Can't believe it's gone so quickly.
Wow.
And yet almost seems like forever, but there we are.
And what were your first memories of living here? What drew you here?
I came originally because I wanted to move from where I lived out on the moors in the far west of Cornwall. And a friend of mine who lives in the Neath Valley had said to me on several occasions, you could find a place here with a bit of land if you wanted to. And I wasn't all that taken by where she lived, but anyway, I was going to visit her. This is very much a potted version of what happened, because I came with her to find a house because I had a camper van at the time, and then came with her again. She rang me up one day and said, if I hire a van, will you take me and my all my stuff up to Wales, because I'm ready to move, but I've broken my wrist and I can't drive. So I said, yes, okay.
You'll be the removal.
So off we went with all her. We arrived at midnight, and I'm thinking we were going to wake everybody up, clattering and banging, so we just took out what we absolutely needed, and were helped oddly by one of her neighbours who was blind, so it didn't matter to him that he couldn't see.
No.
And he was helping us move bedding in and stuff. Anyway, let's cut a long story short. She decided she was going to move to, or at least the chap she was going about with at the time, wanted to move to Pembrokeshire, and they'd been looking for houses, and so I thought, I came to visit her. We came over here to have a look around this area. I'd sent off some leaflets about possible houses. This was the only one we looked at, and we walked in through the gate, and we just looked at one another, and I thought, this feels just like home.
Oh.
And it was a complete leap in the dark. I'd never been here before. And sometimes you just have to do it, don't you? I felt very drawn. I felt drawn and I didn't know why, but I thought, okay, just go with the feeling. Well, it took me 2 years to move for various reasons, and but here I am. And
was it very different to where you lived before, or was it quite? There's similarities.
This area is like, the hills and the moors and it's like a little aspect of Dartmoor, like having a little bit cut out, and moved over here. And it's funny because I was talking to Grev, Penny's husband, last night? No, the night before. And he'd lived on Dartmoor as well, yes. And he said he loved it because it was, it was a bit,
very similar.
Because it was similar. And I said, yes, it's just like having a little piece of Dartmoor on your doorstep, isn't it? And it's when I lived in Cornwall, I didn't want to go there in the first place, which was part of the thing, but the land had a strange feeling.
Did it?
And I couldn't understand it until it was very agribusiness, the particular area I went to begin with. And then down, even further down, by Land's End, it's heavily mined. And I think maybe it's that feeling that it's been raped, everything worth having has been taken out, and just left these tunnels. And
There's not many wild spaces left there.
Well, yes, there are, but it's abandoned. A lot of it is abandoned. I did a project which was about looking at the what colonised these areas of mine waste.
Okay. Yes. So the tips then, the spoil tips.
Well, they're not so much spoil tips. They are, but they're not like hills like.
No. They're not like in the valleys.
But they're
It's nature's taken
flattish.
them back, have they?
Yes, it's getting there.
Yes.
It's getting there, in various ways. But when I came here, I can only say that the land welcomed me. And I know that sounds terribly mauve and wafty, but it was a very real feeling. The land is important. The land is... I moved in and I sort of, went about. I walked around and everybody I met up here was English. I thought this was very weird. I knew more Welsh people in Cornwall than I know here.
Wow, really?
Yes. And I thought this is very strange. And then there was somebody had the idea of buying the old sergeants in Eglwysuru when it was up and making it into a community hub sort of thing, because the hall, as you know, is still a school, or nursery school, and so there's a limit to what you can do there, really. Anyway, I met Enid, who lives up the lane here, and she was, oh, well, who are you and where do you live then?
Enid Cole then.
Yes, yeah. And so I said, oh, well, I've only just moved. I know you're the first Welsh person I've spoken to. And she was telling me all the thing, well, there's a WI and there's this and there's that and there's that, and there's a history society in Eglwysuru. And I said, oh, well, I'd be interested in that because I don't know anything about the area at all. So she said, oh, well, I'll give you a lift. So that's where all the Welsh people were.
You found them?
I found them. And of course it was all in Welsh. I mean, I think there were only about 2 English people there.
So did someone do a little bit of translating?
Yeah, they yes, it was translated. But it was lovely because I could listen to the language.
Yes.
And I think that's, you get the music, you get the cadences of the language. Yes. Even if you don't have the faintest idea what they're talking about.
No.
And you begin to, instead of having just a sort of, a ribbon of sound, you begin to see the gaps and the spaces between the words. And, all that was quite useful, quite helpful and quite interesting to me anyway.
Well, it was a way into looking at this new community, I suppose.
Yes, it was. And so that was, I went going to all the meetings for a long time. And that was, and also because I went with Enid, I had a sort of, I think I was accepted probably more than I would have been if I'd come on my own and just stood there, sort of.
Yes, you had.
I had an introduction, and so that was quite a big leap forward in a way, I felt.
And how long had you been here?
I can't actually remember, but it wasn't a long time.
It was fairly early on.
It was fairly early on, but it wasn't immediate. Because some of my neighbours are very anti-Welsh.
Are they?
And I asked one of them. I said to her, why do you live here if you think the Welsh language is rubbish? Why on earth do they speak like this? Why don't they use English? And I thought, well, they're Welsh, that's why they don't use English. But they do when they need to.
Yes.
And I said, well, you know, you think the culture is a load of rubbish, and you think that you've got no time for the people or the language. I was a bit pointed, I have to say. I said, well, why do you live here? And she just said, no, well, it's very beautiful, isn't it? You know, and you think...
Do you think there's more than that
thought,
to the
poor
place?
soul, really, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, because she's sort of must miss so much.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And I felt very welcomed by the land, and once I got into it, especially since the Rimberian thing, you know, I think that was.
Yes, you've been involved with the Canolfan near the community centre, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, from quite early on, because and the reason for that was Debbie came round one evening for a meal, and she said, I think we ought to do something about Crosswell Hall. She said, I think it's, you know, it's looking so... I mean, I didn't realise Crosswell Hall was an actual village hall. I thought it was something the War Department had left behind, you know, after World War II. And I hadn't given it a thought, really. And she said, you know, well, perhaps we could get some paint or something, just paint the outside and make it look a bit more cheerful. Anyway, I mentioned this to Enid, and she said, oh, well, Alwyn runs everything there, and only what Alwyn says goes. I thought, well, the obvious thing to do then is to go and see Alwyn, isn't it?
Yes.
And see, you know, whether we could be any help or not, or whether you'd say, no, we'll like it as it is. And anyway, in the meantime, I hadn't got round to doing it, and then Debbie had been speaking to Sandra, who said, oh, we really need to get more going on at the hall. This, you know, it's just dying out. It's nothing happening. Well, I mean, there were things, but not enough to, you know, to be. No. So.
And that was before it had been refurbished then?
Oh, quite a long while before. So we talked about it again, and Debbie said, well, we could do a potluck supper. We could just, you know, see what I think we charged a fiver. Yes. We all took some dish of some sort, and just invite people to come along if they want to you know. And we didn't think many people would come, but they did.
Wow.
And you know, I mean, that really got it going. I mean, there were a few of us decided, well, let's do something else. Let's have I think it was a 60s evening or something like that next.
Yes, I think I remember. I've seen pictures of that, I think.
And then there was a 70s evening, and but the highlight for me, anyway, that stands out was the Bollywood evening, the Festival of Colour.
I've seen pictures of that.
Yes,
and, you know,
that was fantastic.
Yes, it looked very vibrant.
Yes, that was Dave Sen, is he called?
Oh yes.
His idea. I remember at the beginning that was his idea, and he said, you know, we could have coloured powders. Anyway, we decided we couldn't really do that. But you know, there's a lot we could do, and
so you decorated the hall at the time then.
Yes,
and music and food and so on.
Food and music, and pictures of India, you know, temples and stuff, and what else did we do? Oh, we had the Brimberi and Bhangra biddies.
Wow.
Julie got this going.
Yes.
She organised this, you know, she choreographed, if you like, this dance that we did.
Wow.
On the stage. She'd managed to get hold of all these saris from. She was doing some yoga sessions in Newcastle Emlyn, and somebody said, you've got all these, you know, you can just take them, cut them up, do what you like with them. So we dressed ourselves up.
Adorned in those?
Adorned in those, yes. bangles and baubles and beads and
Goodness.
and we did this.
And it did a little dance then?
Did this dance on the stage, and we got a gig
Wow.
out of this. I'm surprised you haven't heard.
No, no.
That was the height of our you know
Wow.
our fame. But we got a gig at the Bluestone Brewery
Fantastic.
and invited people to come up and join us if they wanted. You know, we
Brilliant.
did it and we went through it again. And, it was such fun. It really was fun.
You'll have to have a resurgence of it, I think.
Well, I've been trying. Well, every time I see Dave, which is about once every 5 years,
You've been asking.
I've been saying, have you got any good ideas? And he said, no, not really.
Oh. No, it sounds fantastic.
Oh, it was great. It was a great night, and I remember. I think he was getting the filming sorted out, and it was just before, you know, the doors opened, and he said, "Do you think anybody will come?" And I said, "I don't know. They might, but they might not."
So did you have quite a crowd?
He said, "So we'll have a good time then, shall we?"
Yes.
You know, and I think there were probably too many. Really, I don't know how much it was packed.
Wow.
It was packed.
Brilliant.
That's when we made Julie and I made the flags.
Yes.
Which is why they're so cobbled together, because it was very last minute.
Yes, well, you've used those many times.
Yeah, they've been brilliant.
Things.
Yeah.
They've had quite a life, haven't they?
They have,
Yes.
yeah. And we went to Annie Washbrook's. That was a nice thing as well. And said, we want something really cheap and fluttery and as brightly coloured as possible.
Yes.
Have you got anything like that? She's a curtain lining. And she said, "What are you going to do with it?" Because we had all these. Well, how much do we have to buy? Oh, just you have what you want. If you just want a quarter and whatnot, have that. And she said, "Oh well, if it's for a charity, you can have a discount."
Wow.
So it was really cheap stuff. I mean, it was just nylon curtain lining. And we got a discount as well, which was wonderful.
Oh, brilliant.
But that was, you know, that has been, I have to say, it's been a highlight when I think about it, the fun of it and the, you know, the light-heartedness of it, and everybody enjoyed themselves. And yeah, we could do with a few more of those, really.
Yes. So that was quite a long time then before the old school, the hall in Brimberry, was refurbished.
Well, it started after that because the kitchen was. Well, it started off because the kitchen was getting very damp.
Yes.
And they thought, well, we ought to do. You know, it was beginning to get a bit of money behind it because you know the money all went to the
coffers of the Gynolfan,
to the
hall
and
at the time,
so they began to think about, you know, doing, and I was thinking in terms of, you know, getting a bit of paint and getting some materials and getting a few of the chaps in the village to come and do something. But no, they had. Anyway, you know, a committee was formed and all the rest of it.
Yes,
and,
yes, a working group, and they managed to get
quite a lot of money. Yes, and then
obviously COVID came then.
Yes.
So there hasn't been much.
No, then there was nothing to do, and that was only shortly after it was finished, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
But I'm hoping now.
But there's more going on.
It feels so lovely, doesn't it? Because I was really worried, because I loved the old one with all the funny paper flowers hanging up and paper sort of pom-pom things. And it always felt so, come in, sit, you know, enjoy yourself.
Yes, it had a nice feeling despite being a bit cold and damp.
Well, it was only the kitchen that was damp, I think, because it got all the weather on that wall. But
it feels lovely now.
Oh yes, it does. I'm amazed because I was a bit sort of I don't know about all. You know, we don't really need to do all that.
Modernising sometimes.
It had gone,
yes.
And you know, I sort of thought I'd been in the Hermon hall, which was very stark and clinical. I thought. And I thought, oh dear, I didn't want it to be like that. It was such a lovely atmosphere, but it hasn't affected the atmosphere at all.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
And it's got a lovely feel about it. Absolutely delightful place. And the garden, I thought, I don't know about that, We would desperately need parking. And everyone said, no, it'd be fine, there would still be a bit of parking. Anyway, we have lots, we just open up the field. I thought, that's all right, as long as the person who owns the field still wants it opened up. Oh, seems as though it's all right. But I have to say the garden is fantastic, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know about that strange. I've still got reservations about that hedge, which seems rather pointless. But
but it's made the space.
But it has. It's lovely, and it's another room, isn't it? Now, really.
Well, with
in the summer, yeah.
Yes, definitely. And,
so I think, and it's been. I'm a bit sad that I couldn't really join the gardening group because.
A lot of it was over the COVID, wasn't it? They were only able to work on it in small groups
and there were some quite forceful people there at one time. But I was trying to make a garden here, which has taken me years, because there was nothing at all. Yeah. And I couldn't really.
So you had your own patch to tend to?
Yes, yeah. And I'm quite happy to, give a few bits and bobs away when everything's... But
well, you've got plenty of birds out there at the moment, filling their bellies.
Yes. Well, I did actually. I had to leave it because there was a great
woodpecker on there.
I have. There was a great crow that kept coming and sort of hoiking all the things off.
And bullying a bit.
Yes, and eating everything. Yeah. And breaking the feeders.
Beautiful woodpecker there. Does he come often?
He's just started coming again. Well, the two of them actually. Is
there another one?
Brought his missus. Well, I don't think there are two at the moment, but there are. There's a very smart black and white one, which I presume is the male, and a sort of rather.
This one's got a bit of red on his
dingier
in his head. This one.
Yes, and a red rump.
When he moves they're really filling their bellies there. They are. Yes, they're enjoying the.
That's because I put the fat balls out again, and they haven't been out for a while, so he hasn't been coming.
Wow. So is this area, obviously very very fond of your garden?
Yes.
Is this area is this still very full of nature here? Is it still biodiverse in areas?
In areas, yes. And in some, no. A lot of it is just scrub, willow and brambles, which are very valuable from a wildlife point of view. But it's nice. It's lovely. It's nice to be able to just take the dogs out without actually having to put them in the car and go somewhere.
No.
That's very nice.
So where do you normally go for a walk from here?
Well, you can go in all directions. You can get out onto the moors at the end there because it's very
close
boggy.
To the hill here.
Yeah, very close. Or you can go up the concrete road to Cornelw and over that way. Julie and I walked from there to one time to Manclochog.
Did you?
On the other side, yes.
So you walked, that was
nice.
Distance.
We got a bit lost on the top because, well, she's a long distance walker. She likes her long walks, but she couldn't do them because her mum's getting old, and her mum didn't want her to stop because of her.
Yes.
But she didn't want to not be there if she was needed.
Yes.
So I went with her on some of the day walks. It was really nice. We walked to all sorts of places. Walked to Glandor,
yes.
Yes, to see a man who was one of the pollinator men. In the rain like we had earlier.
Really?
Yes. Absolutely hammering down.
Goodness.
Not all the time, but quite a lot of it.
And you go walking with a little local group in Brimberian sometimes?
With Chris, yeah. We go and do that every day because the dogs love it.
Yes.
And she's very good at she knows the area.
So whereabouts do you normally go for a walk then? Sort of different little places?
We can go to Tyrconnell Woods. We can go to not Pengethley.
Yes, that's a woodland. Yes, Pengethley.
Yeah, but it's no, not much, because the dogs have to be Pentrefan. Yeah, you can walk several ways around there, which is good. We've been down to Aberystwyth.
Oh yes,
that was lovely.
Yes, so down
a couple of times.
Sort of
down
St.
that
David's way almost.
Well, no, it's only the other side of Dinas, really.
Oh, that one.
Yes.
Near Newport there.
Yes.
Between Newport and Dinas. Yes.
Yeah.
Where there's a waterfall.
Yes, that's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Yes.
And down to Aberystwyth, isn't it? And down to what's the other one? Aberbach.
Oh, yeah. So those are further down.
Yes.
Towards St. David's.
Yeah, but they're all down to the sea walks, which is nice change from time to time. Where else do we go? We always go somewhere.
Yes.
We've done walks through the fields up. You can walk from Place Parquet, where Chris is.
Yes.
And we walked up through the fields. Where do we get to? I don't know now, but it's nice round a circuit. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we pretty much always do circuits.
So what other events go on here that you may get involved in throughout the year? Are there any other sort of events in the area?
I don't know about events exactly.
Or activities of some kind?
Whenever anybody asks me that, it's like, what have you been doing? No,
you look back
nothing.
You look back on your diary then to have a look.
Well, this is a society which I didn't go to. We went to a choir at Hermon, a choir concert. I like to do concerts sometimes. I like doing concerts.
Do you sing in any choirs or anything?
I don't at the moment. I used to when I lived in St Just. It was brilliant community choir there. And this one was good at the, I think it's Preselis Voices.
Oh, yes. And that's a choir that sings like a mixed choir then?
Very mixed, yes. And there were 30 of them.
Wow, it's a big choir then.
And they said we've only half the choir here tonight, so there must be about 60 people.
That's a big choir then.
Yeah. And they had 5 men.
Really?
Yes, which is quite something.
Well,
round here to get any men to come out and do anything. Well, we were learning Welsh, of course, so that's quite a.
Oh yes, you've been going
quite
to
busy.
We're going to little Welsh classes in the Canolfan in Bryberia.
Yes, which is, I mean, it's so brilliant because it's on the doorstep. It's very reasonably priced, and
you've been learning quite a bit in those.
Well, we try,
This is practicing,
and we're intending to keep it up. And then we on Wednesdays we go to. We go to
Tryweryn.
No, Castell Henllys.
Castell Henllys.
Yes.
So down to the cafe there, where the Iron Age village is.
Yes. Which is a wonderful place. Well, it's one of my favourite places.
It's brilliant down there.
It's lovely.
There's something about it down there.
And we sit out. Usually, if it's nice, we sit outside. Well, we always have up to now. And Dilys comes, Sarah from Cymru comes, and Chris usually, and Janet was there. Yeah,
lovely.
Yes. What day is it today?
Thursday. Yesterday. Welsh, then,
and then we practice. Yes, and they help us to.
That's brilliant.
Because it's sort of I don't know, among friends, it's not quite the same as being in a class saying, which is what Dewey does. No. As soon as you get in, it's.
Does he? Yeah. Well, the thing is,
and he said he does it to get you over that, that sort of thing.
Yes, he's forward with it.
Yes,
And it's
then
nice to have a social atmosphere for the language.
It's lovely, yes, because that's what you need, isn't it?
And
You
that's
need
how
the
you're
option.
going to use it.
Yes, and you get your ear in much more, I think, than just.
Yes.
And then on tonight, we should be going to the Trewern Arms at 7, and another group of us get together.
That's really having lots of opportunities then to try and.
Because we want to keep it
practice.
going, because otherwise, you know how it is over the holidays.
Well, you can easily go lapse, and if you don't keep it up.
If you don't keep it up, you're not going to learn. So, at the end of the day.
But there's a next term now in the autumn then starting.
Yeah.
So have the Welsh classes been popular in Brymberian?
Yes, they have. There was quite a lot of people to start with, and a lot of people have dropped out for one reason or another. But there's a hard core of us that intend to go on.
Oh, well done. So how many of you
So
roughly?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8.
Oh, it's quite a few then.
Yeah.
And then I think there's more booked on for next term. So
quite likely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's very good.
Brilliant.
And I just, I feel disappointed in myself because I haven't learnt already. It's taken me all this time. I did start. I went to a class in Crymych, and then Rowan had pups.
Yes,
and that was that.
Time,
that put the tin hat on everything. And then I started again a couple of years after, and then she had another lot. And that time she had 10. So with 12 dogs in the house, this is not a very big house.
No, I can imagine.
I spent the entire weeks, months with a mop in my hand.
I've had a similar experience myself.
Anyway, so this time I think it's come to me. It's fallen in my lap. Do it and do it now.
Yes, so you feel enthusiastic about it.
I do. Yes, yeah, and I really want to learn.
So since
I think we have a duty almost to learn.
So you said since coming to live here, obviously at the beginning you felt that maybe you didn't come across as so many Welsh speakers just in your
in the immediate area. No,
but as time's gone on,
yes.
How many people locally speak Welsh that you're aware of now? Is it more that you know of?
Yes, lots more. Yes, and Jackie, who used to live, has moved now. Jackie Lewis was, David's mum. She's a Welsh speaker, teacher as well. And Brian didn't speak Welsh, but he was Welsh, came from the valleys. And Chris, of course, is a good friend.
Yes, you become good friends with Chris, haven't you? Yes.
And Janet, and who else walks with us?
Sandra.
Yes, and Sue, who's taught herself Welsh, I think, because even I can tell she's got a really strong English accent, but she speaks very fluently.
Does she?
Yeah.
Sue, who is that?
She comes from Moyle Grove.
Oh, right.
And she's got one of Rowan's grandchildren.
Has she?
She's got a lovely,
She's got one of the pups.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
And she often comes when she can.
So do you feel like it, that it's
well,
important?
I feel I'm very much in a Welsh area.
Yes.
And a lot of the people I know are Welsh speakers. So, makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
To join them. Mind you, it's easier said than done. But there we are.
Well, yes, it's
good to take on a challenge in later life, they say. Keep the old marbles going.
Keep it going. So, has anything changed since you've been here? You've been here 12 years. Has much changed in your time here that you can...
Well, there seem to have been a lot of people from England really, come to live in this area. And I think, most of them have been welcomed, I would say. Sandra's very good at
She's very good
getting,
at greeting newcomers, isn't she?
meeting and greeting and saying, do this, you know, we come to this, come to that. It would be nice to see you. So she's very good at what she does. I can't think of anything else, you know, off the top of my head, really.
So nothing's changed in terms of landscape or anything like that? Everything's been quite similar in the last 12 years, yeah?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
What about...
Because the main areas which used to be open and now aren't, like when you go down the woods, you know, just up here.
Yes.
All that was open and grazed, apparently, according to Will Thomas, yes.
Yeah. But now it's closed. And
now it's closed in.
And does anyone graze that now?
No, it's just scrub woodland.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can't...
All that land there, I mean, so it has got some sizable trees in it, here and there. But all that used to be open moorland. And when Sally first came, she said everything around was open.
Really?
Yeah.
And does someone own that then? Is that why it's been closed in over time?
I don't know. I think I don't know what the system is here, you see, about enclosing land that was moorland. Because I think Beryl and Lynn, I will say Rossmarn, it's not Rossmarn, is it? It's the one before that. I think some of it seems to be theirs, or they,
Yes, I think they've got to go through the court leap with the barony, probably.
Yeah, I expect so.
To enclose because they own the barony.
Own everything, don't they? Yes. I mean, they own this place and all, I think probably all the houses around.
What about sort of in terms of the community facilities? Has anything, you know, changed in your time here? You know, has there been closures of things or things opened? Or?
Well, the Brimberian bus is a great thing to have.
So that's the Green Dragon. The
Green Dragon, yes. And we were told it was going to be every other week, so there wasn't one last week. And then Anita said on her phone,
yes,
it's back to every week.
Oh right. So that comes and picks you up then?
Comes here, picks me up.
Wow.
Comes here first, 9:15, on the spot, on the dot.
On the dot.
Picks me up, go up to the cattle grid, pick Lucy up from Castle, whatever it is, and then into Brimberian for Sandra and Angela if they're coming, and then down to Chris and Dillis, and then down to Julie, and then down through the ford, and
then where do you go then?
And then up maybe to Fran and Caroline if they want to go, and then we go to St Dogmael's Market, and we have a cup of coffee in the
coach house.
The coach house there, and then we have a zip round the market at high speed because it takes a long time to get your coffee.
Yes, especially if it's busy.
Yeah, and then we go to Cardigan. We have an hour pootling about Cardigan, doing whatever you need to do in there, and then we go up to Aldi's and or Tesco
for any other bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you manage to get quite a lot done on that day if you need to.
Yes, it's good because it concentrates you. And then often I want to go up to CCF as well in Cardigan because it's a better one than the Cremic one. And
you get a few bits there as well then?
Get there, a few bits there as well. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And yeah, it's good.
It's
absolutely brilliant. And then they bring you back
to the door then.
The door.
With your shopping.
Yeah, with my pink barrow. Fills up my pink barrow for me, and I trundle it up.
Brilliant.
No, it's such a good thing.
And have you got to pay for that?
Not if you've got permit, you know, a bus pass, you don't. But if you haven't, you do have to pay for it. And I did have to pay for quite a long time when I couldn't get my bus pass for various reasons. But
that's a brilliant service.
it is absolutely brilliant.
Especially in a rural area,
it is,
isn't it?
yeah. I mean, they should get...
more people perhaps should be making use of it.
Yes, although, you know, the bus only seats about 10, and we all have quite a lot of shopping.
So I suppose you... Because you wouldn't be able to get much of a big bus up here, would you? You'd struggle.
Not really. We'd get a bigger one, but not much
Not
bigger.
Much bigger,
No,
would you?
no, not if it was... No, it is a brilliant service.
Brilliant.
Yeah, tell them that.
Yes. Well, it's
it needs promoting.
Well, yeah, and because you don't want to lose it, do you?
No, because there may be a time we're all getting on a bit. You know,
Yeah.
we'll need to
make
have
use
something
of it.
like that.
So you've got to have a car around here, haven't you?
Oh yes, yeah. It's quite. Although I must admit, when I've for any reason not had a car, I've always been able to get a lift with somebody.
Someone's been, yes.
And it's interesting, actually. It's my Welsh neighbours who, you know, because I'd lived here all the time until very recently, on my own. It's my Welsh neighbours who are the ones who offer first.
Are they?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
He needed to come, my car clunked out. He said, "Oh, well, you can borrow my Land Rover."
Oh, wow.
Because I used to do the Samaritans as well, which meant going down to Haverfordwest once a week.
Yes.
And
so you have to find the way down there then?
Yeah. So she said, "Oh, take my car, you know, borrow that."
So you took the Land Rover?
Yeah.
Did you? Fair play to you. Had you driven a Land Rover before?
No. The only trouble with it was you couldn't, what was it? It had something funny. It's very hard to get the handbrake on, I think.
But you managed?
I managed.
You got back and forth in one piece. Brilliant.
And it's you know, that journey back late at night is very, very over the mountain. It's really quite...
Especially if it's misty.
Yes, which it usually was.
Yeah,
you know, usually is in the winter, isn't it?
Yes, it can be.
But that's
But
good
to watch
fun.
there's no sheep or ponies crossing.
Yeah, there aren't very often. It's not like Dartmoor where they lie in the road because it's, you know, there'll often be a sheep in the middle of the road.
Yes, I've had the odd one.
And cattle as well.
Oh, cattle as well.
Yeah, because they have ponies.
Yes,
sheep
we
and
haven't got
cattle.
any cattle on the Preselis these days, have we?
No, and the sheep are very flighty, aren't they? Welsh mountain sheep, very flighty.
Yes.
Whereas the old, what do they have? Scotch blackface mostly, and Dartmoor sheep, Dartmoor greyface or whiteface.
They're slow
And they're
moving,
big.
are they?
Well, they're big, much bigger.
Are they?
And they, they'll, you know, where they've got an overhanging bank, they'll often be under there in the night. And I once went out with a chap who lived really out on the moors, and we'd come back late at night, say from a film or something, visiting somebody. And there used to be a Galloway bull lying in front. It's down a long, long track and then a gate.
And the bull would be...
And all his, you know, several of his ladies.
Really? And how would you get to move it?
Well, you'd have to get up and give him a kick because he wouldn't get up.
Goodness me. Or beat the horn.
Oh, we took no notice of that.
Really? You have to go and give him a bit of physical...
boost, yes.
Go and cheer him up.
Come on, I want to get the gate open.
Gosh.
Well, that was quite fun.
Gosh, yes, I can imagine.
It's another country up there, in the, you know, when it's wild.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, the mist is thick, and for a long way as well.
Yes.
And it gets icy.
Does it?
And the snow, yeah.
Do you ever get, you know, up here now? Do you get much snow if it does snow here?
No, you get a piddling little sprinkle.
Really?
And you think, oh, it's coming.
You've never been snowed in here since you've been here?
Only once, and that was in the earlier days. So it was a big fall, and there was quite a lot. It was probably a foot deep.
Really?
Going up the concrete road, yeah. Yeah. That was beautiful. I love a bit of snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't mind staying at home, you know.
No, but where you are here, you're so close to the mountain. You think that
Yeah.
if you did get snow, that it would.
Oh, yeah, but snow up there, but
Not so much here.
no.
Not so much.
Although it's interesting because when you do get it and it settles a little bit, it stays on this garden here longer than anywhere else.
Does it?
Yeah, which is quite surprising.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's.
So what about the weather then? Has the weather changed much since you've been here at all?
I would say the rain is more. Probably the rain is more heavy
Is it?
than it used to be.
What
I'm
about,
not sure about that.
what
'cause
about
it's
the
hard.
summers? What are they like? Are they?
Well, we had a whole load of awful summers, didn't we? Year after year, when the jet stream or what it was got stuck, and it was very wet. And then 3 years ago it was a much better summer, and last year it was a good summer. And so far, up to now, it's been pretty nice, hasn't it? And it hasn't been so hot that, you know,
I think it was
it's
hotter last
uncomfortable.
year, was it?
It was, yes.
Felt like it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, it was. But I mean, this house is quite cool.
Yes.
You know, we didn't get.
So how old is this house?
I don't know, because I don't know what this was the cow shed or a barn or something for the house next door.
So this had been converted at some point then
Into
into
a bit of a house that Jack built, but then
Yes.
most of my houses have been like that.
well, it's a beautiful house though, isn't it? But yeah, so
It's got a nice feel about it. That's
but it stays
important.
cool then.
Yeah, it does. And it's very well insulated, so it stays quite warm in the winter. Apart from it coming through there.
in the conservatory area.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
just, yeah,
Yes.
that bit gets cold. But yeah, I can't really. I don't. It's very difficult to know about.
So what about areas then? Is there somewhere like a heritage site that you like to go visit? You know, there's a few notable stone sites around here.
Well, I like to take people to Pendraven because I mean that's quite a special one, isn't it? And its sighting is so lovely.
And it's popular down there, isn't it? There's always cars down there, isn't there?
And when one of my sons came over and about this time of year, I think, because it was Cadam show, and I said I'll take you out to breakfast in the morning on Sunday morning, and at Coastal Uplands.
Oh, lovely!
Because they do a wonderful breakfast.
They do,
there.
don't they?
Yeah. And so anyway, he said, "No, I'll take you for breakfast." when it came to it, you know, he didn't say that to begin with, but anyway, but he wanted to go up to the top to look at the Iron Age village, so I was quite happy to go up
to
there.
the
Village.
Yes.
And
It's a lovely site up there, isn't it?
it is, yeah. I mean, we're so lucky here, aren't we? So lucky.
There's so much to see, isn't there?
And again, it's like, you know, Dartmoor's like that. There's loads of places where it is mysterious
And
stone rows that don't seem to go anywhere, but they must have done once. And
So it's got that similarity then in terms of that ancient feeling to it.
yes.
in parts.
Well, yes, the feeling that, you know, you're in line, if you like, because the modern life is very much here you are in your little, you know, this is it.
Yes.
And the future, it's all out there in the future. You know, we'll be able to do this and we'll be able to do that. And I went to, I was in Blass in Newport the other day waiting for a friend to turn up. And there were two people on the end of the table. I was sitting this end, both on their phones, not looking at each other. And the table on this side, there were two people in a family group.
And they were all on their phones as well.
And two more on the other table.
Oh gosh.
And you think, this is supposed to be the age of communication.
But they were all just stuck stuck
They're
on
all,
screens.
yeah.
Mm.
It was really telling.
Yes, I can imagine.
I'm a dinosaur when technology is concerned, and it's not easy to be a dinosaur these days. But there we are.
Tell me though about your, because you've got some quite interesting little sort of, well, talents and hobbies, because you do wool spinning and so on. Where did that come from? Where did you start that?
I did a course years ago in Devon at Dartington, and which was a great centre of inspiration, actually. And they had lots of interesting courses and things, as well as a school and all kinds of little estates. Like they had a pottery, they had woodworking, they had forestry, they had farming, all these different.
Wow.
Very, and so I did a course there, which was really interesting, and we did spinning in the morning, and then we did weaving in the afternoon with a lady called Bobby Cox, who became quite a well-known weaver, and so I was experimenting with dyeing. I love plants, any sort of plants, but I also love using them.
So you were trying to make dyes out of the plants then?
Yeah, and it's amazing what you can get. It's absolutely amazing.
So can you list a few of them? What colours?
Well, one of the best is onion skins, because you can get everything if you've got enough, and it would take quite a lot, but you can get. I'd made a fire outside and I had this big pot on it, and I made this really strong potion of onion skins.
So have you got to boil them then?
Yeah, you boil them up, and I got everything from dark brown, really dark brown, to palest yellow, palest golden yellow. I'll show you a few actually.
Yes, yeah, show me. It'd be brilliant to see.
I've got a few bits and bobs that. What's that? Here somewhere. This was a garment which
Wow, that's beautiful.
That's onion.
Is it really? So
those two are onion.
So you've dyed the wool then?
Yes. Spun the wool and dyed it.
Beautiful.
That's oak apples.
Oak apples.
You know the sort of little balls that grow on oak trees?
Yes.
That's what colour you get with those.
It's beautiful colour. So that's like almost a mustard yellowy colour, isn't it?
Well, ochre-y, isn't it?
Oaky.
Yeah, that's bracken.
Yes.
It's, I mean, this is old, it's very old, it's faded. But that's onion, and that's something called weld, which is very old dyeing, a very old dye.
It's an interesting colour.
You can get green if you.
Yes, it's almost a limey green, but the muted one, isn't it?
Well, it's muted now, but it was.
Was it quite bright? Was it?
In your face, yes. These are madder.
Madder.
Yes.
That's an orange colour.
Yes. It actually does bright red as well, which I haven't got any on here, because this was the first thing I ever made.
So that's the first thing you made with.
Or never made, actually, because I thought I'd do it a certain way, and I realised after quite a long time that it wasn't going to work.
It's very beautiful. The patterns and the colours. Yeah, that's
bracken, and that's. What's that one? That was.
It's an interesting
some sort
colour.
of. They might have been plums or something like that, or berries, elderberries.
It looks a bit purpley, doesn't it? But
yes, it was purple. It's faded. I mean, some of them do fade in the... This here...
Yes.
Was one where it all went wrong. It was nettles, which said in the book gives a good green. It said a good green.
I've heard that nettles are good for dyeing.
Yeah,
but that one
didn't. It came out like an old dishcloth, old floor cloth. But you can't have everything. It's very, it's very experimental, and it depends entirely on the weather. It depends on the time of year. On the temperature, but that's what's fun about it.
That's what's fun about it. Yeah. But then you do the spinning of the wool then as well, don't you? So
yes.
You spin the wool.
Yes. Oh, I was going to get that'll do, won't it? Really? I'll show you.
Well, it's lovely, isn't it? It's really nice. It's So do you do any little workshops or show people about it?
We did. I did a talk. Was that a? That was at the that was at the meal. One of the meals, wasn't it? We all decided. We'd all said we'd tell something. We did. So I did a talk about a demonstration of spinning, and we had a felting afternoon.
So you were able to do? Are you into that as well?
Yeah, that was good fun.
Brilliant.
Especially when I took a big tray, because it's a very messy business. I took those garden tray sort of things that you put plants in. And there was Janet and who else was it? Janet and Irene and someone else, and they were all. And Irene was talking about a programme that she'd heard about the walking songs in the Hebrides. Oh, when they're walking the cloth and they're all, bashing away at the cloth. Anyway, so there they were banging away at their felt and they started to sing.
Did they?
And it was absolutely magical. There was just, I don't know if you've heard Janet sing.
No, I haven't.
Janet has got the most wonderful voice.
Has she?
Yes.
She's very shy about it.
I know, she's very shy. Oh, no, I used to be able to, but I can't. You thought, don't be so silly. Of course you can. Yeah. And she's got a lovely voice, and Irene sings in St David's.
She does, doesn't she? Yes.
Yeah, and somebody else there. And it was that song, I don't know quite how it goes, but when do it was one of those magical moments, because they just all started.
Yes,
they didn't say, "Oh, let's sing so and so."
No, it wasn't planned.
No,
they just decided that it what they were doing.
I suppose somebody started and the others joined in.
Goodness.
But it was, I don't know, it just made the day. Anyway, we made felt, and then the next week we made it into something. So that was.
So what do you do? What do you do with the? How do you know?
I mean, this is one of the things. That was a demonstration.
Okay. So like a little brooch then.
Yeah, little brooches, and I think Chris made a glasses case, I think. And Angela made something similar, and they made little bubbles to do it up on a little loop, and it was good fun.
Do you do anything else? You're obviously very artistic. Do you do any other bits?
Well, I came here with a view. When I was coming here, I thought what I would do, because that shed out there used to be a pottery, apparently.
Did it?
Yes, and I do a bit of pottery. You did do a bit of pottery. And so I was going to make pots, and I was going to ride my horse over the hills for days at a time. And I haven't done any of those. I went to a class in somewhere funny, somewhere out in the wilds, but it was a bit Blue Peter, really.
Was it?
Yes, the world has enough ashtrays, I think. So
do you do any pottery now?
I haven't done, no.
No?
I made one of those things down there, and there's a jug in the corner, and there's some bits outside.
Yes. So what about the horse riding?
Well, I went up there.
Have
Every
you
time
still
I
got
went
a
out,
horse or anything now?
yes, I went out, and everywhere I went, I just finished up in a bog or a gorse thicket.
Did you?
Yes, because it's very damp over this side, very wet. And
yes.
I've got a Connemara pony, and if your DNA is, forged by the Irish bogs, you're not very keen on getting your feet wet.
No. Gosh.
But, Caroline's horse, we would go through anything.
Really?
Yes. It was a great big Shire cross. He just plod his way through everything.
So do you still do any riding now?
I haven't ridden for quite a long time now, but I'd like to get her back into work, really. She's 20 now, but she's had a very easy life,
Yes,
so she could go on for quite a long time.
Yes, many will,
And,
many still go on for many years after 20, don't they?
Well, the oldest I ever heard of was a very reliable person told me this, that they had one and they knew its provenance, and it lived to be 52
Goodness.
in Cornwall.
It's brilliant. So
Yeah, must be good.
have you ridden all your life then, otherwise? Have you done lots of
pretty
riding
much,
in your time?
pretty much, yes.
Mm.
But I was never really competitive. I didn't
No, that
care.
wasn't your thing.
No, it was just really just being out. And I had quite a serious accident about 20 years ago now, and it took me quite a long time to get back from that. But when I started to, my granddaughter still is a keen eventer.
She?
Yeah, and she had a lovely Connemara pony. It wasn't hers, she was riding it for somebody else, and she rode it in, was when I happened to go and visit them. And she had another one that was a Connemara cross thoroughbred, and she took these two ponies to this little show, and she got first with one of them and second with the other in an event.
Wow.
And so the idea of Connemara ponies was sort of, it was really beautiful, this one. Anyway, a little while afterwards, I was in the local sort of, agri place, buying cat food because it was cheaper there. And I just happened, as you do, to look along the adverts, and there was good home needed for 3-year-old rising fall Connemara cross. And I wrote down the number, and I thought, I always said I would never have a horse if I didn't have my own land. And I thought I'd give this person a ring and just see, Anyway, I thought by now it's bound to be sold, but it wasn't.
Oh, right.
And Anita and I went up to have a look at it. It wasn't a million miles away, and I finished up buying this little pet. It was about 14 hands at the time. It is bigger now.
And how long ago was that?
Well, she's 20 this year, so it was, and she was 4 by the time I got her. So 16 years ago. And it was quite interesting, thinking, well, how am I going to start this pony off,
So had the horse done had it been broken or anything at that point?
No.
Oh, it's completely unbroken.
But when I was talking to this woman on the phone, I thought she sounds just the sort of person I would want to buy a young horse from.
Really?
Yes, and I told her this, after we'd sort of done the deal, and she said, "It's funny you should say that, because she said, I was hoping that you would come along, and you would." She said, "You sounded just the right sort of person to she would want to sell one to,
Yes.
which was really extraordinary.
Yes,
But and it was wonderful. I had a wonderful time, and I got so much fitter than I ever would have done if I'd been, you know. It was nasty. It was. I didn't know. They didn't know whether I'd be able to walk again. And they said, "Well, we don't know. And, you might, and you might not. Depends on how you go. We don't want to operate, but treat it conservatively." And I said, "We don't know how successful." And well, they were I can't remember the wording was now, but she said something like, "We don't know whether you'll ever be able to walk again."
Goodness.
And I thought, well, I can't have that. I live on my own.
So you were feeling determined.
Well, I just think, no, I can't entertain the possibility of
no.
because there's no one to look after me. I'm, a bit of a lone wolf. Anyway, but having this pony was my saviour. Because I had to deal with her. I had to. My neighbours let me use their fields for a little while until I had somewhere to
keep.
And then I kept her at livery on a farm. Again, but it was up a steep hill out of where I lived, and across a bit of moor. Yeah. Which in itself was I learnt to run on that bit of moor. I remember because I couldn't run. I was so unbalanced.
Yes.
And suddenly I thought, I want to run, so I did. Goodness. Only a few steps,
yes, but it started you off.
Oh.
Yeah.
But because I had her and I had to.
Did you have someone break her in, or did you do it yourself?
No, I did it myself.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you?
No, I swore years ago before I would never have anyone else break a horse in, because they broke her. I had the beautiful Palomino filly that I'd bred.
And they hadn't done a good job with her.
Welsh cross Spanish.
Beautiful.
Absolutely lovely. And she came back like a lump of wood. I could sit on her and walk around the yard, and I had a little gelding at the time who I sent the two together, and he was all right. But they put her in she'd never been kept in before except when it snowed, and she was in. Two of them were in the stable together, big foaling box, and they put her right at the back in a building where she couldn't see out. It was like being in prison. Yes. And I couldn't, I wanted to take her away, and I couldn't. And I was trying to say, oh, she's just bolshy. She wasn't bolshy. She was sensitive.
Yes, yes.
So that was it. I thought I'd never ever.
You do it yourself then.
Yeah.
And how did it turn out with the Connemara? Was it an easy?
Brilliant. Yes, she was easy. Yeah, because she'd had the right upbringing, and she got lovely temperament, and she's very. She's not a pushover, but she's quite biddable. There's an old saying, isn't there? You ask a stallion, you tell a gelding, and you negotiate with a mare. Well, I like that process of negotiation.
Yes.
And it was absolutely the best thing I've done, really. Yeah. Well, one of the best things, because it was such fun, and I could take her out for walks on the moor, let her go.
Could you?
Yeah, and she'd follow me.
Yeah.
And my granddaughter and her then boyfriend, well, still boyfriend, they couldn't believe it. She said, she's like a dog.
So she's closely bonded.
Yeah, but I mean, because she's been in the field by herself now, she's got a bit more of a gender of her own now. But
oh yes, that happens.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, but she'd soon come back.
Yes.
But
she got you going again then.
Yeah, absolutely did. And I know I would never have recover to the lengths that I did if I hadn't had her. So I don't know how we got onto this, I'm sure, but
no,
well,
but
that's something else I do.
No, but it's very
I
interesting
do.
though, isn't it? And, you know, in a rural area,
Yes.
a lot of people have got that relationship with
Yes,
animals,
with animals,
you know,
yeah.
horses and so on, and obviously you've got dogs as well. You know,
I suppose I always liked animals more than people when I was growing up, because I had a few good reasons not to. But no, they're brilliant as well. You don't look very brilliant when you're lying like that, but still.
no, so it's nice to have company, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. Yes, they're great company.
And we know when you
They're
go
great
for a walk
company.
or something, it's,
And I know, I mean, I love collies, but I wouldn't have another one.
no,
I wouldn't have anything but lurchers now.
really.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because they're so easy. They're the easiest dogs I've ever had.
What mix are the lurchers with you?
This one is greyhound, deerhound, and I think bearded collie, and a bit of whippet.
Yes.
Because she's very small, but she had brothers who were up here.
Did she?
Yeah.
Big ones then.
And I met one in Widdicombe in a little dog show thing, and there were a lot of lurchers on Dartmoor. So and they managed to, one year they had a lurcher show just for lurchers. Yeah,
they have become popular, haven't they?
I suppose so. Yeah, well, yes.
I see quite a few about.
Most of them are related to mine, I think.
Probably. But are they sort of more, you know, collies? Are they harder work?
Well, when my last collie died, I remember saying to Anita, if I ever get another dog, it's got to have very small feet and not much hair, because I had a very hairy collie, and she had hair like a Persian cat. It was so fine, and she hated being brushed.
Did she?
She didn't mind being hoovered.
Oh.
She hated being brushed. And you know, of course, their trousers get covered in burrs and stuff, don't they?
Yes.
Actually, you don't get many burdocks around here, do you?
Not as much, no.
No. But these, well, they've got very small feet and not much hair, and it was only after I got her that I sort of thought, that's exactly what I said I wanted.
So they don't molt as much?
No.
Do they not?
No, nothing like.
Nothing like the collies?
Nothing like as much. And they don't smell. And they're very bright.
Yes, yours are they're very bright, aren't
They're very biddable and they're very bright if you don't know how to treat them. I think that's where people go wrong. They shout at them, try to bully them, and it doesn't work.
No, they don't.
I told everybody who had a puppy of mine, you know, you'll get far more with a whisper than a shout with these dogs. And you do.
Do you?
Yeah. You know, and I'll shout at them sometimes when they're barking or something. But,
yes. Interesting.
But generally speaking, treat them very gently. And quietly,
yes. and they will come
respond
well
really quickly. Lovely Ocean, my boy I had, he didn't live very long. He died when he was 2, nearly 3. But I never had to teach him to walk to heel. He just did it automatically.
Naturally.
Yeah. And getting him not to chase sheep took a few goes. But he would come.
Do they naturally kind of want to do that?
They want to please you, I think. Yeah, I mean dogs do generally, don't they? If you're nice to them, anyway.
You'd hope so. Yeah, you'd hope so. Moving on a little bit then. The many tourists that come and visit this sort of area, in the Preselis area.
Well, there don't seem to be. I mean, to me, there don't seem to be all that many at all. But
maybe you're not in the middle of it.
No, if you go into Newport, I mean, but are they all tourists? Or no, some are tourists, aren't they? And some are second homers, which I think is a very sad thing.
Are there many of those locally?
Yes, there are in Newport. There are loads, and apparently all those. I mean, I don't know because I don't come across them really.
No, you wouldn't know unless
I wouldn't know that.
No.
But all those houses along the Parrell, there's only one of them, I think, lived in by.
It's quite a long stretch of houses
or
there,
two,
isn't it?
one or two maybe. Yes. And they're all holiday homes or buy-to-lets, I suppose, aren't they? But yes.
Is that creeping inland more? Is it creeping into the hills? That sort of trend?
I think less so, because I think most people want the sea, don't they? Seem to. And it's a tricky one, isn't it, tourism? It's very difficult.
And you've got experiences of tourism from where you lived before?
From Devon and Cornwall, yes.
And what were your experiences there of it?
The dilution of community was one of the big ones, certainly in Devon years ago, where people would, because the villages are small, and you get, I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful area, and you get, just a few houses that are left empty all year, except for the few weeks when they come down at maybe Christmas, Easter, summer. And people come along in the pub, why isn't there a cricket club in this village? You never see any cricket played on the green. No, because there's nobody left to play it.
No one lives there all year round.
It's there all year round. And, some of I think it happens less now, but years ago, very often you'd get, in Cornwall certainly, you'd get, St Ives used to shut down in the winter. It doesn't anymore, but because there's nobody there.
No one would come.
It's not an area for shopping particularly.
So can you see that as a risk for this area?
Yes, I think it's a risk for any beautiful area. There's a lot of money about. A lot of people have got a lot of money, and they can just buy up 2 or 3 houses
without thinking about it.
And certainly in Cornwall, that was the latest place I was aware of it. The village I lived in was, I was talking to you before, wasn't I? It was the place people would say, "Oh God, I wouldn't live there if you paid me." Now it's sought after.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Prices have rocketed up. A house that you could have bought for 30,000, say, minus cottage, 1 up, 1 down, or 2 up, 2 down, in a terrace. Could have bought for £30,000.
And how much
15 years ago. It'd be in the hundreds. I saw them go up from that to 130, and that was years ago. So
they've probably gone far greater.
And
now.
you think, well, a little house like that can only go so far, but no, the whole lot goes up. And
have house prices risen here significantly?
Yes, I think they have. I mean, yes, they must have done, because you hear people sort of say, "Do you know what they're asking for that?" And getting it too.
Yes.
It's fine when you've got a balance of incomers and local people, but there's a strong local base. And once that base goes and the balance tips, then you're in trouble, I think. And the councils think tourism is good, tourism brings jobs. Yes, it does, but they're mostly wiping up jobs. And some people make a lot of money, People who own the caravan sites and the camping sites and the hotels, yes, they make loads of money, but it doesn't filter down to the local people.
And presumably then they can't afford to live here.
So they can't afford to, you know, if they sell their house or have to move, they're never going to get another one.
No.
And
so they can't support themselves on those sorts of.
no, because if I mean the wages are minimum always, and if you get a job that is well paid, you can't get the hours.
No.
I was on benefit in Cornwall, in West Cornwall, for a long time, and did all sorts of voluntary projects and things. But I did get a job with the WEA, which is the Workers' Educational Association, and it was a funded project, so it was £2,000, I think, at the time. But I couldn't get the hours. I couldn't get the hours in to actually be any better off than I would have been if I'd been, well, maybe slightly better off than if I'd been on benefit. Because I mean, people around here don't understand about living on benefit. They think it's people like that. Well, I was one of the people like that.
People look down on it.
Yes, they do. Yes, and it makes life very difficult for locals. And very often, when there is some major project goes on, and you think, that'll bring some money in. Well, as I say, they get the project manager from somewhere else. They get architects from somewhere else.
So they're not supporting local.
And they're not supporting local trades. And when the big supermarkets come in, well, we saw all the money, sort of lorry loads of money going up the A30 to London or Bristol or wherever.
What is local food like here? Is there much opportunity to support local producers?
There is, yes. It's very good. It's what there isn't here, which I'm quite surprised about, although it's beginning to happen, are the sort of places where you can do refills, so you don't have to add loads of plastic, and you can.
So you can buy in bulk.
Well, no, not in bulk, but just you can buy what you want.
With your own container.
You can buy,
then?
you take a container or take a paper bag, or they give you paper bags, but they're likely to break because they're not very good these days.
Is there somewhere in Aberystwyth, isn't there? Is there somewhere in Cardigan?
There's somewhere in Cardigan, yes, there's a little place in Cardigan. Kilgarren's shop is very good. They've got a wonderful village shop there.
They're very good.
Very good.
Yes, they're very good.
Obviously they haven't got everything, but
they do a pretty good job of it.
I was reading an old Country Living magazine the other day, and there was some people in Totnes in Devon who've set up, a young couple with a little girl, who've set up this shop where you can get everything you could possibly need.
Without going to a supermarket.
It's brilliant. I mean, Totnes has always been good, and it's always been the forefront. Yeah. But that you can. I mean, they've got a nice farmers market. There's a biodynamic farm sells their stuff.
Is there?
So it's easy to get organic food here, if you want it.
Yes.
It's easy to get good bread.
Is it? Plenty of bakeries.
Yes. There's a couple of young men in Fishguard, isn't there, that do lovely bread.
Oh, that Nourish Bakery.
Yes.
It's a nice bakery, that one.
Yes.
Nice pastries as well.
Oh, there.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't actually. Some friends came down who've got a couple of Rowan's offspring, and I said, "Oh, we'll come to lunch." I said, "Oh, well, we'll bring something with us." So I had loads of salad in the polytunnel, and they brought a lovely sourdough loaf.
Oh, lovely.
And it wasn't like, some are very crusty, aren't they? You need a blinking chainsaw to get through them virtually. And this wasn't, and it was really, really nice bread.
Lovely.
And
so local food is plentiful then in
yes,
producers.
yes, it is actually. You don't have to go to supermarket. Some things I suppose you do have to go for, but you could, in theory,
yes,
give up the supermarket altogether.
Moving on then, I suppose we're coming to the end now. What do you think are the main challenges for this area moving into the future?
I would think tourism was going to be a big one.
Yeah.
For reasons I've said. And I think keeping because of that, keeping communities together is something of a challenge.
Yes.
You're already getting the farmers on this side and the incomers on that side, and the farmers have think, oh, they're all, they just want to change our ways. They don't, and the incomers think, oh, they're burning the hills, oh, all the poor little birdies, etc. But you're already getting that.
Divisiveness then.
Divisiveness, yes. And really, I suppose our community centres are a possible answer to that divisiveness, if you could only get people together.
Yes, yes.
And people being willing to stand in somebody else's shoes and see it from their point of view. But yes, I think that is a concern.
Is there anything else we haven't spoken about that you'd like to mention about your connection to the area, how you feel about it?
I suppose I would like to say value what you've got, because I think people, when you live somewhere, it can very easily, well, it's just where you live, isn't it? And they wouldn't notice necessarily the changes until it's too late. And community is a big one, because without it you haven't got much else, have you really?
No.
I mean, and being involved in your community, I suppose I would say, because I think there is that certain amount of divisiveness, which it would be very nice to see. I think the advantage you have here really is to a certain extent the language, and the fact that the Carnarvon was set up in the beginning, wasn't it, to foster and preserve Welsh culture. And I think it would be nice if there were ways, if people could think of ways of doing that and keeping that original ethos going.
Yes.
And it's difficult to keep it going if people won't come.
No.
So I suppose I would say to the local people, if anybody were to ask me, you've got, you've got such a wonderful place here. Value it, really value it, and make the effort to explain to people who don't understand. Arwell's very good, isn't he?
Arwell's
yes,
great, yes.
He's very good, I think, in doing what he does.
Yes, So it's
And
taking the
it
time.
must be quite hard for him. He's got to be neutral, hasn't he? In
He
many
has, yes.
respects.
He's got that job of
Yes.
liaising with farmers and people
And
that
other,
are...
yes. And I think, people like him should be supported as well in whatever way is necessary or appropriate.
Great.
But it's just a very magical place, isn't it?
It is.
And it's nice. I mean, I'm really interested in hearing all the stuff that you're doing as well, because I didn't know.
No.
Didn't know. I knew you worked for Planet now and again, but
now I should do it.
I do feel very connected. I wouldn't want to go anywhere else.
No.
And I've lived in some nice places in my time.
So you feel you've rooted yourself here?
Oh, yes, it took a while. Doesn't happen overnight.
No.
But I just think the fact that you've got such a rich culture already, I mean, that's one of the things that needs to be celebrated.
It does, yes.
In whatever way you possibly can, because it's invaluable, and it's not. They don't have it everywhere.
No, it's unique to this area,
It
isn't it?
is, yes. And it was interesting because St Just, I was talking about,
Yes.
which is right down near Land's End, it's very similar to that. It's a very similar feel in some respects. And many years ago now, there's a medieval playing place in the middle of the village.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just a circle with an embankment round it, and they used to put on mystery plays in the Middle Ages apparently there.
Wow.
And someone, Pauline, I think she was, rewrote the cycle of mystery plays, three years worth, I think, to be performed in the playing place, the Pleningwarry.
Yes.
And it was magical. I think there were two. There was a director from somewhere else, but with links to the area, I think. And there were a couple of might have been one or two professional actors, and all the rest were people from the village. The chap in the what's it called? Sort of second-hand furniture place, and the lady in the co-op behind it till,
right.
And it was just all these local people, and they'd been wanting to do this for a long time apparently, and there is I think about 3 medieval playing places still extant in West Cornwall. But he said there was nowhere else that had the community that St Just had. That you couldn't get because they were places where more people had moved in, so they weren't quite so rooted in their own area.
No, they weren't established and connected to the place as much, perhaps.
No. And there were more people there who were. And that was something that was possible because of the community.
And you feel like that about
yes.
here, that there's that possibility here.
Yeah, that sort of thing, yes, because it's still here. And I think, all of them can be, if we can get it functioning in the right way.
Yes.
But I think that sort of initial ethos of promoting Welsh culture really needs to be in the forefront, or at least
embedded in it.
Embedded, yes.
We've got some work to do, but we're nearly there.
Good start made.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. Good start made.
Yes.
But yes, because there are dangers in all sorts of ways. I mean, technology for a start, I think, takes people away. I mean, just looking at these people in the cafe on Monday, you know, they weren't interacting with the people they were with or with anybody else either.
No, they weren't present in the moment.
No, they're not in the moment at all.
No.
They're somewhere up there.
Yes.
And
so we need to bring them back down.
Yes.
To earth.
Well, I don't know. Is there any way to bring them back down to earth? Forgotten what I was going to say now. Have you come across that lovely book, The Lost Words?
Yes.
Yes.
Jackie Morris.
Yes. Well, I bought that for my assorted grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And because I think it's so important that they learn what's under their feet.
Yes, and there's a Welsh version as well.
Yeah, there is, isn't there? Yeah.
For them to feel, you know, more connected, really.
Connected to the earth and not just with cyberspace, which, you know, they all are from terribly young age, aren't they?
Well,
they all twiddle away their thumbs.
You know, I wasn't even... That wasn't natural for me either, you know.
No.
So, and, you know, yes.
But just think how impoverished you'd be.
I know.
You know, spiritually and emotionally and, you know, soulfully, if you like.
Yes, I understand
because
exactly what you
mean. You know, the soul isn't there, is it? In that.
Well,
it's exciting times.
It is
really?
Exciting. Well, thank you ever so much for speaking to me this morning, Fleur. I really enjoyed it.
So have I, actually. It's always good to have a natter, isn't
it? Thank you.
And, you know, what you're doing, I think, is so important.
Yes.
You know, it's must be quite satisfying and challenging to have a job that, you know, and it's so important. There's nothing more important to be doing, is there really? Except possibly bringing up children.